Hello, everyone. Ambassador Terry Earthwind Nichols, along with my co pilot, John Chappelear, and we're here to talk about the Daily Six, his famous award winning book. And our guest this week is got a really cool story, and that's Dalice Rose-McSeveney. And we're just excited to kick this off. I'm going to pull it over to the author himself and let's roll with it, John.
Okay. All right. That's great, Terry. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think for me, the hardest thing for me to realize was to be grateful for all things at all times, even not good stuff. Because it's sort of choosing whether something's right or wrong or good or bad. And it worked out I finally came to the realization that it should be wait and see, not 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 making a judgment at the time, but waiting a little bit to look back on it and see what the reasoning was. I'm not sure Dalice, I know she's been through quite a bit, and I'm looking forward to hearing her story, but the things that happened to me were very traumatic, and I felt like everything in my life was exploding and then gone. Only to find out, 5 or 6 years later that if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have been here. I wouldn't have written a book. I wouldn't have started traveling around. I'd still be, working in Washington, D.C., running a small company, playing golf a couple times a week, which is great. But nobody ever sent me a note and said, this is really changing my life when I was selling stuff out of a store in Washington, D.C. But now that I've had a chance to do this and be connected to people all over the globe, it's been amazing what the change has been. And it was just a matter of following the gratitude trail, just keep being grateful, keep showing up. And, a couple of friends told me that, and daggone if they weren't right. I mean, it took me a while. It wasn't like the 2 weeks later, but I would not trade where I am now for where I would have been had this not happened to me. So I'm just grateful, but it was really hard to realize that, you mean even the crummy things, you can be grateful for that too? That was hard. That was really hard. How about you, Dalice?
I completely can relate to the crummy things, especially in recent moments. And I'll get to that in a moment. But I think the big piece that resonates with me with what you're just saying is around, there's a thing called gratitude, right? And that's the action we take. So we can be grateful for something. And then we've got a lifestyle, if you like, of living with gratitude. And they're very different things. Being grateful for something. So I've known a lot of people who will just say, oh, look, I'm really grateful for that happening. And to your point, it's not until you start living and breathing that you're grateful, that then you start to actually experience the transformational effect of gratitude and what it has on your mindset. So the most recent example that was really powerful for me is was down in South Island, New Zealand, recently visiting my father-in-law as he is terminally ill. And I knew that was the last time that me and my boys would get to see him as due to where he's at. And so that was really hard. When I left the hospital, I was really upset, as you can imagine. And after a little while of traveling and being upset, something came over me, and I said to myself, I'm grateful for the grief that I'm feeling. Because that grief meant that I do love that person. That meant that I had that person in my life, that I had experienced wonderful things with this person. And so I said, thanks to the grief for being there, for helping me feel the pain that I was going through. And man, that just changed my attitude, the way I was. I wasn't going to get stuck in the grief. It's not my style, but I think helps you lift up. It doesn't stop you feeling grief. I think I'm really big on feeling emotions. I think it's really important that we actually go through the different emotions in life, including the not so nice ones, because they are there normally to protect us, but also help us understand what's going on. But we need to do it in a gentle manner. And so, that was hugely powerful, massively powerful. And so I shared that with my family as well, because I'm always big on teaching my boys. They're 12 and 14. If you could learn that lesson on how to live a life of gratitude from when you're really young. Imagine what your life might be like, rather than like, for me, it was over a course of years of, learning it before I even knew the name of it.
Right.
And
Delight.
It's a thing that for me was the idea. Oh, I think I've lost my what I was going to say. No, I lost it. I'm sorry. You go ahead.
No,
It
you're right.
was just tied in nicely with what you had, except for I lost it. So go ahead.
It will come back.
It'll come
Yeah,
back. It'll loop back around.
Yeah, and to your point, 2 weeks. I mean, nothing. I think the big message for people is around to live a life of gratitude and actually feel the massive impacts that it has. It isn't a 2-week journey. This is a lifetime journey. And no, that's not exhausting. One thing I love about gratitude, it is available to everyone on this earth, and it's free.
Right.
It is a mindset that we have to dedicate ourselves to.
Yeah.
And so, you can be grateful for the things that aren't so great. It is tough. It's really tough.
Well, what popped into my head before was you're visiting your terminal father-in-law, and people would say, "Well, where's the gratitude? How can you find gratitude in this?" And to me, I would be so grateful I had an opportunity to be there, to be able to share with him, to be able to experience his life. When I talk to people who, when their friends or family pass away, and I say, the pain that you're feeling is directly in proportion to the joy that person brought to your life. If they just kind of like, oh yeah, he passed away, sorry to hear that, she's gone, oh my goodness. But if it's a deep sorrow or a deep sense of loss, that's because you had a deep sense of love and you had a deep sense of appreciation. And so what for me is, I tell them, focus on that. Focus on the joys that you remember rather than the pain of the loss. Remember, think of that, the joy of the time, and be grateful for that. And and those are things that took me a long time. Trust me, this was not something that popped into my head right away. Like you said, it takes time to make this a lifetime experience. It doesn't take a lifetime, but it certainly takes, from where I was, which was everything's about me, to being grateful for things and people and places and situations, was a real change of mindset for me. It really was.
Agreed. Dalice, you really have a real hopeful story around the home you just sold. I just heard that you were able to sell your property. That's quite a story. Would you mind walking through that? It's an amazing thing that you've walked through, you and your husband, and I think it would be very encouraging out there for people to hear it, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Yes, very exciting. Gone unconditional. I don't know if that's a term used in America, but for us, it's unconditional here. In New Zealand, it means that the person they're legally bound to buy a property in the next 2 months when we settle. And so that's really exciting. John, we live on a lifestyle block, which is a little tiny farm. It's 2 hectares and or 6 acres. And we moved here 8 years ago from a large city in Auckland in New Zealand. And we had a plan that we wanted to turn the property into something that would grow something. We planted almonds. We started cultivating that. We're the only ones in the region doing the almonds. And we put a tiny house on the property as well. So we thought the plan was, 5-year plan, that the property would make some money. My husband dedicated his time to that, and I did full-time work to help support financially for our household. And we wanted to give our kids a different opportunity rather than growing up in a really big city where they wouldn't see their parents as much because of travel and full-time work. We wanted them to have some more of us time and family time and get out in the country, if you like. and that worked really, really well for a really long time. Then a few things happened over the last so many years. There's been a few incidents that my husband's experienced, and they kind of moved into different levels of materiality, if you like, and impacts to him. And which culminated a year ago, that when he had a fall from his part-time caretaker job at the local primary school, he shattered his spleen and broke 5 ribs. And he drove home after this. He put the ladder away, closed the door, the garage door, came home in a manual car and said to me, "I'm not feeling well." So my husband's one of those types of people that if he says, "I'm not feeling well," it means you need to take attention, right then, now. Because otherwise he just doesn't tell you anything. And he suffers pain very well, let's put it that way. And so I jumped up, we had a look, and couldn't really see anything. And he said, "No, I think I need to see a doctor. I just don't feel right." And so I drove him to the hospital because we never imagined he was actually dying. And as I... Oh, no. No. I can't see you guys. Sorry, my screen has gone. Can you hear me?
Oh, no. Yes, just fine.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
we can see
you.
We can see you too. See you and hear
Oh,
you. Yeah.
that is really weird. Now I'm back. Sorry, I
There you are.
completely went. Yeah. Yeah, so I drove him to the hospital. And we got there, and within a minute, he was in resus, and 2 hours later, he had a life-saving operation. And that made a massive difference because he was our physical person. So I was bringing in the financials to help us realize our dream, and Kevin, my husband, was doing all of the work, if you like, the labor on the farm, and he's very good at it. But of course, that stopped. So he came home, without a spleen, broken ribs. So he's like high risk for a number of months afterwards. And we remedied all that together. But then we made this decision a few months ago that actually he'd made the decision that life's too short. He turned around to me and said, as much as he loves living here, it takes a lot of work for him to look after it. And he realized having that near-death experience, and unfortunately, sometimes it does take those experiences before people come to this realization, there is more to life, and I want to have more fun with you and the boys. I want to be able to experience life more. My whole time is worried and fixated on this property. And he couldn't go away without worrying about it and what he'd come back to, and having to look after it and remedy it. Yeah, so we listed it, and we've been we were very grateful. You see, the family that's bought it, it's a family with 3 young children, so 3 young kids will get to grow up on this farm again, which I'm really, really excited about, because our kids have loved growing up on this farm. They're teenagers now, though, so their focus is in other areas, so it is a good time for us to move on. And we're moving closer into town, so that's going to give them freedom to do all sorts of things, ride bikes to school, all sorts of things that they haven't experienced yet. So it's really, really exciting. I mean, the funny thing though was, talking about emotions before, when it became finalized, and we got the email from our lawyer saying, yes, it's gone unconditional, my very first reaction was to cry. And I hadn't felt tears or sadness up until that point. I just burst out crying, because the reality was we're letting go of that dream. So there was always part of me harboring this bit of going, and we love this property. If you could be here, you'd see the views are 360-degree views, water, mountain ranges. It's just a second to none. It is the most spectacular property I have ever owned. And, but at the same time, it is the right thing for our family to do. So I had to go through that range of emotions to make sure that we felt the right thing. But so exciting and so grateful that we have found something really quickly, that the people that we're buying off have accepted our offer. And so gratitude is just always part of me. It's something I use to stabilize I call it mental fitness, which is not too dissimilar to things that I've read from you, John, in the sense of helping us feel balanced, and it's not, as I said before, gratitude is not about hiding away from pain.
Right.
It's not about hiding away from the emotions that we don't like to feel, because there is a good reason why those emotions exist.
Right.
And it's very important in my mind that us as humans actually go through ranges of emotions. When we suppress emotions, that's when it starts to come out in other places.
Right.
And we may take it out in to other people that we love or those around us. And it may not be the link of why we're feeling that way and how we're treating other people may not be obvious.
Delightful, delightful.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're continuing the conversation, but was that an amazing thing? You know, we as human beings can go through quite a lot. And, you know, the human spirit and the fortitude, a lot of times, like you and your husband, you know, you just shut all that stuff off and it's gone until you can allow it to surface. And then it's powerful, very powerful. You know, it's like the hiker who has an accident and has a broken arm or worse, a broken leg, and manages to hobble out of the woods to get help somewhere and then collapses near the fire station. You know, we're really pretty tough units as it is. And you know, the daily six is six things that you can think about on a regular basis. Right. And gratitude is certainly a powerful part of that. John?
No, absolutely. I mean, and that's why it's a daily exercise, not a read this book and everything's great. It's a reminder that, you know, love and forgiveness and service to others and these things have to be something that you're focusing at least on some component of it each day to keep you moving in a direction like you were talking about, Dallas, sort of living gratefully rather than just thinking about gratitude. The thing that I was thinking when you were telling me the story is that what I say and you said, wish sometimes it didn't cause us quite so much pain. And there's a video wandering around somewhere on the internet that says, I've told 1 million human beings that it doesn't require pain to make changes, but I can't get anybody to make a change until they get in pain. And it's just, you know, kind of thing. And so for me, what happened to me is I would classify what happened to you, which is a gift of devastation. Yeah. And it is a gift that just wipes you out to the point where you just don't have any idea what to do. And then you process on through it, trying to maintain that sense of gratitude and love and forgiveness. And the next thing you know, the house is sold. And the next thing you know, you're moving closer to town. And the next thing you know, things are changing for your children. And if we were to wallow in the pain of that loss, we would not be here to be able to live in the moment. I find people carrying the negativity and sadness of the past into the present, and it allows you to miss so much of the present moment. I was joking with you earlier about the series that I watched, a New Zealand-based series that we watched called 800 Words, and he has 2 children, and one of them is in a lot of trouble, and he's completely lost the concept of dealing with his other child, who's perfectly fine, until the child says, "Don't forget, you have 2 children here, and I like it here, and I behave myself," you know, kind of thing. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm so focused over here, I've lost my train to pay attention to the other things. And so the thing that I'm hoping that the Daily 6 can do for people is help them step back a little bit and take a couple of breaths and then take a look at the whole picture of the day or the life or whatever you want to do, and then behave according to that. Not just because what happens is, you know, you were talking about emotions, you know, the more volatile the emotion, the closer it sort of makes our focus till it's all like this and that's it. But yet the world is still going on around me. I mean, if I hadn't have been paying attention when a friend of mine walked by and he said, "I just heard you speak, you should write a book about this." And I was like, well, I never thought of that before. So, because I'm really a talker, not a writer. And if you read my book, you'll know that I'm a talker, not a writer. But
I love your book.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You know, that helped. And then somebody said, "Hey, I know an agent. You want to know an agent?" You know, kind of thing. And things just sort of rolled forward because my plan was just start another company, because that's what I had always done. I started and built 5 companies. One of them was a failure. The other 4 were not. But my focus at that point was failure, focusing on the failure rather than letting that go, learn the lessons from it, let it go and move on. I can't, the only thing dragging that stuff forward is going to do is diminish my present moment and make me feel terrible. And I can't be positive or bring positive energy if I'm allowing all this negativity of the past to sort of weigh me down, kind of thing. And your story is a tremendous resilience. There's tremendous resilience in that story.
Yeah, the 3 of us, the trials and tribulations that all of us have been through at certain times of life. I too have lost 3 or 4 companies and sold one, and there's been a lot of stuff happening in my life, and yet here I am, still going. And there's always something from all that tragedy that I get an opportunity to help somebody with who's going through something similar. And it is what it is. You learn or you learn, and it is that gift of devastation that John talks about, both in the Daily 6 in the book and in his speeches and things like that. And it's powerful, it's uplifting, and it's grounding. If you're just spinning and crap's going on, gift of devastation, what? Boom, you get grounded. And the next person will go, they're kind of grounded, and this gift of devastation. Oh, I can get through this. So, and that's unique to us all. Dallas, you got anything more on that, or shall we change the gratitude subject?
Yeah, one, like the term gift in front of the word devastation is incredible. You've weaved some magic there, John, in regards to, because it's like with my story, and I said it's interesting until normally it does take a really significant event like my husband's near life experience before you stop and actually look at your own life and go, what does this mean for me? Where do I want to go? Where next? How do I want to get through this? Am I going to get through this? And it's human nature a little bit that we have to normally wait until something, the gift of devastation, lands in our lap or knocks us over, if you like.
I say that all the time. Everybody is on a low-fat diet after the heart attack.
Yeah, absolutely. But we just
take a heart attack to go on a low-fat diet, but
we're way more dedicated to that low-fat diet after the heart attack. Absolutely. I mean, it is. It's a curious thing about human nature. I think, though, if you can learn to focus on. So gratitude for me helps me focus on the good things. So you talked just before, John, around owning multiple companies, and one of them was a failure. And yes, we can. That would have been significant, absolutely. The others were a success, right? So it's really important that we don't forget about the things that we have done well, because in every story, of when things haven't gone well, with relationship breakups, whether it's business losses, whether it's friendship losses, whether house property dream losses, those things, there's elements within all of those stories where actually we achieved and did really, really well. But the biggest achievement is we gave it a go. Right. And failure is an interesting thing as humans. So I saw an image yesterday, and the words with it said it was a little tiny toddler looking down in awe at water rippling, right? It said, imagine if you saw the world through the eyes of a toddler. And it made me smile, because I went, we lose that. As we get older, we get way too serious about life. Right? We stop seeing the beauty around us. We stop appreciating the simple things that are simply there. As toddlers, how do we learn to walk? So
Right.
when we're a baby and we're becoming that toddler, we fall over umpteen times, hundreds of times. We keep struggling and struggling. We fail over and over and over again until we succeed. Now, we had the tenacity at that age to just keep going, to
Yes.
just go, that didn't work. I'm going to try a different way. I'm going to keep going and I'm going to have the conviction. At times we yelled and screamed because we were frustrated, for sure, but we had the tenacity to carry on.
Absolutely.
We lose that as we get older. We kind of get separated from this part of our brain that actually exists. And for me, gratitude helps me recenter and reconnect back to that part that already exists in all of our brains.
No, I think a path, it's the thing I've always talked about is when you mix these daily 6 components together, love, forgiveness, some meditation or quiet time, or whatever else you want, what you're able to do is create a path for the day, a conscious path where you can put your intentions along the path. And the thing that I've learned about a path is the thing that's the most important thing about the path is not that you're on it. It's that you notice when you're not on it. And all of a sudden I said I was going to be grateful this morning. This is not gratitude coming out of my mouth. This is disappointment or so, oh, it's so terrible for me. It's just, if life is a series of choices, then we need to choose more wisely. And it took me forever to realize that I could just choose to not be angry. Yep, you sure can. And it's a lot more fun to not be angry than to be angry. And, it's a friend of mine said to me once, would you rather be right, or would you rather be happy? And those were the days where I would argue you right into the ground. And the answer, of course, is I'd much rather be happy. Well, then, let the people around you who might be wrong, let them be wrong. Stop trying to correct everything. It's just not your job. Nobody hired you to be the judge, jury of the world. Just do your contribution, be really positive about it, and move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're closing down, coming down to the last little bit of last few minutes. And Dallas, do you have any final thoughts? This was so wonderful to have you with us today.
Really, it was really nice.
I've really enjoyed being here. It's been lovely, and want to say a big thank you and how grateful I am, of course, of being invited to join this moment with both of you. I admire you both, so thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity. My closing words, I suppose, would be linked to what John was just saying. It's when you know that you're living a life of gratitude, when you have those awareness moments that you just spoke about, John, where you catch yourself out in your own mind going, oh, wait a minute, that was a bit judgmental. It's not probably serving me that well. Is there another way of me being able to think about this? I feel anger, I feel annoyance. So if you feel the tension inside your body and you're like, oh, what is this? Okay, how do I recenter myself? That awareness is massive. So being able to get to a point of self-awareness that you could do something differently in order to achieve a better outcome. And that better outcome may be simply to feel better, to feel more neutralized, to feel, and therefore be more welcoming to feeling joy again. That's what I would leave with.
Well, wow, delightful. John?
That's a good one to leave with. For me, it's just that, to be grateful in my bones, to just sort of realize, like you were saying earlier, Dallas, the idea that if you're focusing on good choices, you notice when bad choices are being made. I mean, the thing that I say is if the goals are clear, decisions are easy. Is this moving me closer to the goal I have today, or is this not moving me closer to the goal I have today? So if it's very clear, then it's easy to say, no, this isn't helping me at all. Let me get back on this path that I set for myself this morning. And, this is why they say things about, well, the best of intentions always sort of do this, that, or the other thing. Is the reason that it is because we just don't bring that up in our conscious minds frequently enough until it becomes inherent behavior. When I used to do this, every time somebody poked me, unless I consciously work on reacting differently, I'm going to always react the same way. So, it's new behavior is always uncomfortable. And so we have to, I just had to learn that, okay, if you're uncomfortable, that's just great. It means it's new behavior. So relax and keep doing it until you come out the other side and go, wow, I'm really glad I did that. I wouldn't want to do it again, but I'm glad I did it once, kind of thing. So thanks a lot, Terry, for having me today. And Dallas, it's lovely seeing you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up another Daily 6 Live. And we have a few to go. So please stick around and enjoy us. Leave some comments below. We're going to be very happy to answer them, respond, and reach out to any of us. We're right here on LinkedIn, and we would enjoy you getting a hold of us and doing that. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for listening. For those who pick up the recording, we appreciate you, and bye for now.